Have you got £50,000 and you're not sure what to do with it? In today's video, I'm going to explain what I would do. £50,000. You're in a great position. I started with a lot less than that. But in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly what I would do to make that 50K work for you so that you don't have to work so hard in your everyday life. If you're brand new to the channel, you know what to do. Please subscribe, spread the word, like, hit the bell so you get notifications every time we release new material. And of course, hit me up on Instagram at Simon Smith Online and let me know what videos you want to see and what you're finding good and what you want me to scrap and do less of. I'm just going to work off the feedback I get. So if I had 50K, this is what I would do. You know I love rent to rent and you know that's my baby. So I would have to allocate 10K to setting up your rent to rent business and getting a couple of deals. It's a great way of cash flowing. However, in today's video, I know there's some of you that are gonna want to own property, which, let's face it, that's the long game. I wanna own property, and the more money you've got, the more ability you're going to have to do that. So today I was just like, do you know what, 10K for rent to rent, maybe you spend £40,000 on owning your first rental property. Hold up. When I say owning property, I'm not talking about buying the property you live in, because in my eyes, that's a liability. I'm talking about 10K for rent to rent and then 40K for an investment property that's gonna provide cash flow. And the reason that's so important is when you buy a house to live in, it costs you money every single month. So, it's a liability in that sense. You then have to go to work to be able to afford the mortgage. And you know what mortgage, it basically, mortgage means something around your neck holding you down. So what you want to do is you want to use leverage. And even if you're renting where you live, that's fine. Buy an investment property that makes you money every single month. And I want to just break down exactly how the figures might work. So for you newbies, I'm going to be talking about two key strategies in this video. The first one is rent to rent. Instead of buying a property to rent it, you don't buy it. You control the property. You act as the property manager, guarantee the landlord's rent for 3 to 5 years. Then you find tenants or clients that you charge a supplement and you keep the difference, okay? Anything in between what you pay the landlord and what the tenants pay you is yours to keep. And I love rent to rent. If you want to know more about rent to rent, then what you want to do is you want to check out the rest of my channel, tons of content, particularly one which is buy to let versus rent to rent. Highly recommend. I'll put a link in the description of this video. Buy to let, or more importantly, BRRRRR, is where you buy a property ideally below market value. Okay, you do a refurb to add value to it so the property is now worth more money, and then you rent it out to prove the income and refinance. And all that means is you go back to the bank and say, look, it was worth 100, it's now worth 140, pay me. And then they're going to give you some more money back for you to recycle and go again and again. So let's look at the figures. You got 40K, right? Now the great thing about property is 40K doesn't buy you £40,000 worth of property. It will buy you much, much more. So let's just take a 100 grand property. Deposit wise, you'd only need 25K to buy that. If you're in London, forget about it. If you can be in the Midlands or North where I am, you can have a great time with 40K. So 25K deposit, 3% of the purchase price, 100 grand, that would be your stamp duty. And then let's just, allocate 2K for fees. So you're £30,000 in. 100K property, 25K down, 3K stamp duty, 2K fees. This is the trick. What you ideally want to do is you want to add value to the property. When you add value to the property, you hopefully increase the end value. So let's say, for example, you spend £10,000, the last 10 you've got now, on adding value, and you could refinance that property at 140. Refinance, what's that? All refinance is basically when you add value and the property is no longer worth 100 grand, it's worth 140, the bank will then lend you 75% of the value of 140. What that means is you only have to leave in, I think it's £35,000, but you're built in equity, so you can pull some out. So I've got the figures here. If you manage to add value and turn that 100K property into a 140K property, the bank, the lender would give you 105 grand. You would pay your loan back of 75K, and you would then have an additional £30,000. So you put 40 in, yeah? You own the house now, the bank's giving you 30 back, and you can go again. But the reason it's important to get the rent to rents in the bag as well is in the time it's taken you to do that, you've now got 1 or 2 rent to rents cash flowing. So that 30K is on the way back to 50K again, so you can recycle and recycle. And I know what you're thinking, whoa, easy, slow down. You're making that sound like a smooth ride. And you'd be right, it's not gonna be simple. Rent to rent is a skill. It's a property business. It's gonna take time to master. It's not just as simple as, oh yeah, 10K, I'll get myself some rent to rents. Yeah, it's not gonna be that simple. You're gonna have to get educated, and you're gonna have to fine tune what the strategy is. You'll know that I do a combination of rent to HMO and rent to SA. And I personally champion that strategy, but it's not gonna be easy. And in terms of your BRRRs, it ain't gonna be just like, oh yeah, there's a below market value property, there's a below market value property, especially right now when we're going through this huge property boom with all the stamp duty holidays and stuff. Properties are so competitive. I'm speaking to agents and they've actually pulled the viewings because they've got 20 viewings within 24 hours of releasing the property. But if you can find the right deals, it's the best way of recycling your money. And one tip on BRRs, 1 in every 3 sales actually falls out of bed. So I'm actually doing it right now. I'm absolutely hounding an agent on a property not far from here that I've completed on 2 property purchases in the time that it's taken this buyer and seller to complete on the purchase. I spoke to the guy yesterday. They've not even exchanged yet. So what you want to do is don't just focus on the ones that are available. On Rightmove, you can actually look at properties that are sold subject to conditions. You want to call up the agent and say, hey, you know, 10 Smith Street, just checking in, you know, is it going through? And if you do that 10 times, I guarantee 1 or 2 might fall out of bed. And what happens when they fall out of bed? Seller's more motivated. So if you're communicating and building with agents, you might be able to squeeze in and get your offer accepted before it even comes back onto the market. Closing comment, and this is a massive one. If you do have 50K, do me a favor. Don't just save it in the bank. 2 reasons. Reason number 1, I don't know if you've got this, but money saved in the bank is just too easy to spend and it will go. If you've got 50K in the bank now, I guarantee you now in 5 years' time, it's only going one way, and that's down. And the second thing is, due to inflation and the poor interest rates that the banks are giving right now, your money is actually depreciating. I think it works out by 1% or something per year. In other words, 50K today is not worth, hopefully that's that agent, 50K today is not worth what it will be worth next year or in 5 years due to inflation. I hope that's useful. Hope you found some good value in that. Any questions, feel free to hit me up. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.